All right, Cowboys Nation, let's jump right into the heart of the Dallas Cowboys' upcoming offseason because the free agent picture is about to get real interesting. We're talking about a roster that has some obvious top-tier talents, some solid role players, and a few guys who may not return simply because the numbers just do not make sense. And when it comes to the biggest question of them all, the one that will dominate headlines and social media for months, it's George Pickkins. The guy is arguably one of the top 5 free agents in the entire NFL, and he is absolutely the #1 priority for the Cowboys. If he walks, it changes everything about the direction of this team. So it's no surprise that the speculation is already heating up. Personally, I would be stunned if the Cowboys do not at least franchise tag him. I'd even be happily surprised if they got anything done before the draft, because history suggests this kind of thing drags out. We're likely looking at a situation that goes all the way to the franchise tag extension deadline in June, and that means the answer may not come until just before training camp. The key point is that they will have an answer before camp, whether it's an extension or him playing on the tag. But I have to say, I do not want to see him on the tag. It limits flexibility and makes the team feel like it is operating in a short-term mindset. The Cowboys have a history of dragging these negotiations out to the deadline, so it is not a surprise. The real question is whether they get it done. Will the Cowboys secure a long-term deal with Pickkins? For me, I am leaning yes, but I want to hear from you. What do you think? Now, moving on from the superstar, we have to look at the running back room, because that is another area where decisions are going to be made based on numbers and potential. Miles Sanders was okay last season, but he was never truly dominant, and that one big run he had before the injury was kind of the highlight. With the emergence of guys like Malik Davis and Jaden Blue, it would not surprise me at all if Sanders decides to explore options elsewhere. The reality is the numbers may not add up for him to return to Dallas. When you have younger, cheaper options who have shown they can produce, it becomes difficult to justify keeping a veteran who is going to command a higher salary. On the other hand, Javonte Williams was a pleasant surprise. He played better than expected in almost every aspect, and as a runner, it was arguably his best season ever. The one area where he did not shine was pass catching, but his running ability was the real value. The interesting twist is that the running back market this year has some solid free agents, which could actually drive down his price. That is why the Cowboys are already talking to his agency, and I think we may not see much traction until closer to the combine and the start of free agency. But if the price is right, I would absolutely have interest in bringing Javonte back. It would be a smart move if you can lock him in for a reasonable number that fits the team's cap structure. Next up, we get to Donovan Wilson, and this is where things get a bit complicated. The guy is absolutely going to be playing football somewhere next year, but the real question is where. I believe he was completely misused in the scheme, especially under Matt Eberflus. He was asked to play deep safety a lot, and that is not where he is at his best. Wilson is a box safety. He is better when he is in the thick of things, making tackles, and playing closer to the line of scrimmage. The issue is that he also struggles to match up with tight ends in coverage anymore. That makes it hard to justify paying him a premium when the team needs talent upgrades in other areas. I would let him walk. Yes, he's a good leader, but right now the Cowboys need talent on the field, not just leadership in the locker room. The linebacker room is another area where the team needs a major overhaul, and that brings me to Kenneth Murray. I hope he's gone too. He was simply not good. It was a move heavily influenced by the coaching staff, and it did not work out. There were a few moments where he looked like he belonged, but overall he was not the answer. And then there is Jack Sanborn, who probably will not be back either. He has some connections with a potential defensive coordinator candidate because of where he played in college and how he has been coached, but the reality is the linebacker room needs new blood. If Sanborn is not brought back, I do not think anyone will be upset because the unit needs an overhaul. Now let us talk about the defensive line because there are some names that will be interesting to watch. Dante Fowler did not do much this year, and it is clear he did not get along with the coaching staff. It would not surprise me if he returns on a cheap deal under a new defensive coordinator, but I would also not be surprised if he leaves and goes somewhere else. The dynamic here is that Fowler is a veteran who can contribute, but his fit in this system was questionable. Then we have Sam Williams, and I know some Cowboys coaches and front office members have liked him, but the production just has not been there. He has not shown improvement over the last 3 years, and outside of the injury year, he has actually gotten worse. I acknowledge that the defensive staff is a big part of the issue, and it is possible that a change of scenery could help him. But at the end of the day, the numbers are what they are, and he has not produced. Peyton Turner did not play at all this year, and that is a major concern. A former first-round pick who was injured and never returned even after being activated late in the season is not the kind of player you want to bet on. I do not see why he would be back. The Cowboys need players who can stay healthy and contribute. And then we get to Jadeveon Clowney, who is one of the few bright spots on the defense this year. Literally one of less than 5. His issue is always the same. When does he want to sign, and for how much? He is probably going to command more than the $3 million deal he had last year. He has expressed openness to returning, and I would bring him back because the Cowboys have limited depth up front. They have a few players under contract like Isaiah Land, but they need more bodies who can actually play real snaps. Clowney is the obvious internal name, and he would be a smart investment if the price is reasonable. The key question is, what is the most you would pay Clowney per year? This is where the Cowboys have to be careful. You do not want to overpay for a player who is talented but has a history of contract holdouts and uncertainty. At the same time, you do not want to let him walk and then struggle to find someone else who can provide that kind of impact. Now, let's shift to the wide receiver room because there's a big name that many fans have already started talking about. Jalen Tolbert did not have a bad year, and those who watch closely know that he showed flashes of real potential. But the reality is he is still a developing player, and I fully expect him to leave in free agency. He has shown enough to earn a shot somewhere else, perhaps as a veteran receiver who can compete for a role. A team like the Saints could be a realistic landing spot, and it would not be surprising to see him take that kind of opportunity. The Cowboys have to understand that sometimes you have to let guys go if it is the best situation for them. At the same time, I do like Brock Hoffman, and I would happily bring back Captain Insane. He has shown he can start in the NFL, even if it is at a lower level. And given how poor offensive line play has been across the league, I would bet that someone will give him enough money to start for at least a year as a trial. When it comes to the offensive line, Deni is not someone I care if he returns. He struggled, particularly at tackle, and while he is a veteran, the Cowboys need to bring in better talent. I would not be opposed to bringing back Rob Jones, the guard who did not play because of a neck injury. The Cowboys liked him, and he provides depth at guard, which becomes important if you lose someone like Hoffman. He would not be expensive coming off an injury, and he could provide solid depth for a couple $1 million. But again, I'm talking about value. The Cowboys need to prioritize players who can contribute at a high level, not just fill roster spots. Now, the cornerback room is another area where change is likely. Corey Ballentine was briefly on the active roster after being called up from the practice squad, and it is hard to imagine him being back next year. The quarterback depth chart will look very different next season, and that means a lot of the fringe players are going to be moved out. C.J. Goodwin is another name who might not return. He has been a leader, but age has caught up to him, and I am not sure he is as effective as he once was, especially as a special teamer. If he does come back, it should be for a minimal deal like a $1 million max. It would not be a disaster, but it might be time to finally move on. We will have you covered all free agency long, so if you have not already, make sure you're subscribed. But before we move on, we have to address the restricted free agents, because that is where some of the more strategic decisions will happen. Restricted free agents come with tender levels, and the first-round tender is $7.89 million. If you apply a tender, that means you pay that amount, but other teams can still make offers. You can match or receive draft pick compensation if you do not. Now, the tender system has changed, and you can no longer get an original draft pick like in the past. It is now only first round, second round, or the right of first refusal. So, you can either match an offer or let the player go for nothing. One name to watch is Brandon Aubrey. He is a kicker, and while he is 30 years old, he has been one of the best in the league. The Cowboys could try to work out a long-term deal, and that would make sense. The second-round tender is only about $1 million less than the franchise tag, so that is a decision they have to weigh. If another team offers a second-round pick for him, I will admit I would be tempted to take it, even if I know some fans will be upset. Aubrey is elite, but the Cowboys have to consider the value of a second-round pick. With that said, I doubt anyone makes that move. It is rare for a kicker to get that kind of offer, and I would simply pay him. The question is, what would you do? Pay him or tender him? Let me know what you think. Now, Malik Davis is another restricted free agent. The second-round tender for a running back is expensive at just under $5.66 million. That is a lot for a backup running back, and it might make more sense to work out an extension. Maybe something that guarantees him around $4 or $5 million and adds a year or two, which would reduce the cap hit. That kind of deal makes sense for both sides. Then there's Wayne Thomas, who had a scary year with concussion or migraine issues. He is a player the Cowboys have had some issues with in the past regarding agents, and his future is uncertain. I would bring him back at least on the right of first refusal, but it is something to keep an eye on. Finally, we have TJ Bass, who might be a second-round tender option. That is a lot for a backup guard, but he has shown he can start if needed. The question is whether the Cowboys want to pay that much for a player who is not a true starter. Robert Jones was a cheaper option and was able to fill in. But Bass does carry value because he has started before and can handle that role. Reddy Stewart is one of the exclusive rights free agents, and he actually did some good things. There's even a chance he could be tried out at safety, which the Cowboys briefly did because of injuries. He will likely return and fight for a roster spot next year. Same with Josh Butler, another exclusive rights player who has barely played due to injuries. It would not surprise me if he is back as well, and these guys will compete for those final roster spots. Now, as we continue to dig into the Cowboys free agent picture, we have to keep in mind that the team is not just deciding who to keep or who to let walk. They are also deciding what kind of identity they want to build moving forward. This offseason is not just about patching holes. It is about defining the next chapter of the Cowboys' defense and making sure the offense is built to win in the modern NFL. The big question is whether the Cowboys are going to be bold enough to make the changes necessary to get back to being a dominant team, or if they're going to play it safe and hope the current core can turn things around. If you ask me, the truth is that they need a combination of both. They need to keep the right pieces, but they also need to be willing to let go of players who are no longer helping the team, even if they are popular or have been around for a while. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers around the NFL world are growing louder as one of the sport's brightest young talents reportedly makes a shocking move. Shadur Sanders, the quarterback who has captured the attention of fans and scouts alike with his precision and poise on the field, is said to have accepted what sources are calling an irresistible offer from the Dallas Cowboys. While no official announcement has been made, insiders suggest that this potential deal could shake up the quarterback landscape and leave a ripple across both college and professional football circles. Sanders, the son of legendary NFL wide receiver Deion Sanders, has long been on the radar of top teams, praised for his arm strength, football IQ, and composure under pressure. Speculation has been swirling about his next move ever since he emerged as one of the most dynamic young quarterbacks in recent memory. Rumors now indicate that the Cowboys, eager to secure the future of their franchise, pulled out all the stops to make an offer that Sanders simply could not refuse. Financial terms, contract length, and other specifics remain tightly under wraps, but sources describe the package as unprecedented for a player of his age and experience level. The possible pairing of Sanders with the Cowboys' offensive system has analysts buzzing. Could his skill set, quick release, and ability to read defenses be exactly what the team needs to ignite their offense? Fans have already begun imagining the possibilities from highlight reel passes to a revitalized Dallas locker room. Meanwhile, skeptics question whether such an early commitment carries risks, considering Sanders' relative inexperience in professional settings and the pressure of stepping into a storied franchise. Social media has erupted with speculation, with former players, commentators, and fans weighing in on how this move could alter the NFL hierarchy. Comparisons to other young quarterbacks who made bold jumps early in their careers are flying fast, but few names generate as much excitement as Sanders. If the rumors hold any truth, the Cowboys could be positioning themselves not just for immediate impact, but for a long-term strategic advantage, potentially signaling a new era for the team and redefining expectations for young talent entering the league. For now, the NFL world waits with bated breath. Will Shadur Sanders truly bring his talents to Dallas? And if he does, how will this ripple through the league's quarterback landscape? One thing is certain. The buzz is real, the stakes are sky high, and fans everywhere are eager to see how this story unfolds. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.